Hello. I think we can start now. We can begin our session for today. And I would like to say good morning, everyone first. And I would like to introduce myself. My name is Con Ling, and I'm from Myanmar. Today, I will be your moderator throughout this session. At this moment, I would like to give you guys an introduction about Angkor Social Innovation Park. In short form, it's called ASIP. So ASIP is a non-profit entity affiliated with Asian Vision Institute. And the aim is to develop knowledge on social innovation and provide sustainable and innovative solutions to local Cambodian enterprises. So the project I'm coordinating right now is called Knowledge Fishing or Knowledge Exchange, which is an online casual talk show platform where knowledge can be shared between youths and professionals from different countries. And today is actually the first day of our show. And we have two guest speakers from two different countries joining us today. And hello again, Mr. Lun Peou and Mr. Alex Stewart. Thank you for joining us today. And how are you guys doing?
I'm good, thank you. Hello.
Doing very good. Excited to be part of the first show.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So may I ask Mr. Peou to introduce yourself first?
Good morning, Ling, and good morning, Alex, and good morning, everyone. My name is Lun Peou. I'm the school principal of Pannasatra International School from Cambodia. And I'm really excited to be here and to share this experience, especially on education. Thank you.
Now may I ask Mr. Alex to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Alex Stewart. I'm from United Kingdom originally, but currently I am teaching social studies in a private school in Bangkok, Thailand. Happy to be here and share information about education at the moment. Should be good.
Yeah. So both of you are teachers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I would like to ask about the education system in each of your countries. Since you guys are from Cambodia and UK, it's gonna be different, right?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So I'm not too sure about the Cambodia system. I'd love to hear about it. But in the United Kingdom, the education system is split into 5 different sections. We have early years, which I think most people call kindergarten or something like that. We then have primary learning, secondary, and then we have something called further education, which takes students up to the age of 16. And this is where they'll develop their qualifications that can get them their career path. Not into university, but just into jobs that don't require a university degree. The compulsory age you have to go to, but if you would like to go to university, we have something called higher education, which is 16 onto 18, where they'll get some sort of qualification like an IB or international baccalaureate, or they'll get A-levels in their chosen topics. So for example, if you wanted to do business at university, you would pick 3 topics like business studies, economics, and math, and then that would take you onto your chosen career path.
Oh, so is it mandatory to take those exams in order to get into university?
Yes, those grades will determine what university you can go to. And also, once you apply to a job, your career will look at those A-levels as well to see school performance. If you don't go to university, they just look at your 16-year-old grades. But if you go further, they will look at just the A-level grades or IB.
So what about Cambodia?
Yeah, in Cambodia is not a big difference from the UK, I think, because some part of the educational system in Cambodia be adopted from the model from the UK and Europe. In Cambodia, the education in Cambodia is more centralized. While it is, controlled by the state through the Ministry of Education, in the nation level, we call this Ministry of Education is the nation level, and by the Department of Education is provincial level. And Cambodian education system, include preschool, like it's not different from the UK, which is not compulsory for preschool, but primary and secondary education are required. And we also have higher education and non-formal education. Students need to spend 12 years for the basic education of what we call general education, which include 6 years for primary and another 6 years for secondary level that we divided into two, 3 years for lower secondary and 3 years for upper secondary. And, all the public schools nationwide have to follow the same policies and curriculum, which is formed up or designed by the national level. That would be referred to the Ministry of Education. And students are required to take 3 main exams in order to move to the next level or to graduate. For example, if they are in grade 6, they have to take another, state exam. When it's a state exam, I mean, we do on the same day, and sometimes the exam is designed differently. They are 6th grader, they are 9th grader, and they are 12th graders. They have to take the national exam. Yeah, that the education includes develop general knowledge, sport, information technology, research development, and technical education. And our students, we prepare for the career, prepare for the university levels. When they graduate from grade 12, they can decide whether they choose their technical education or they have to go to university. It depends on them. Okay, that's all for education in Cambodia, and I would appreciate it to answer more questions.
Yeah, Mr. Alex, do you have any question to ask Mr. Peou?
In the Cambodia education system, do you have standardized testing, or is all of the exams that the students take, are they all made by teachers within the school?
They are divided into 3 main exams I mentioned earlier. The first one is 6th grader. When they want to move to the secondary level, they have to take the exam that designed by the school itself. The teachers at those schools. But when they move to 9th grader and they want to move to the upper secondary school, they have to take another exam that designed by the school itself too. But when they move to grade 12, they have to take the national exam that what you say standardized test. The standardized exam is designed by the central, by the Ministry of Education, and all together the across the country they have to take the same test, the same date, the same day, right?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I noticed in Thailand is that there's no standardized testing to finish school or anything like that. So most of the time they have to take external exams like SATs or IELTS or something like that to actually show their abilities.
I think it can be different between when what you mentioned is public school or private school, because the education in Cambodia and Thailand is not far different, I think. But private school, they have the right to their student can graduate from their school and they can go to study at the university abroad without joining the national exam. But for public school, it is a must, it is a requirement.
Since I'm from Myanmar, it's a bit different for me. We only have 11th grade, Unfortunately, we don't have 12th grade. So whoever wants to study abroad, and if you finish the public schooling system, you have to like take extra classes or take all those tests like GED or IGCSE A level, so yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bit different for us.
Okay.
A lot more exams.
So with that being said, may I ask, how has your education system helped you develop in your professional career?
For me personally, I think it's helped quite a lot in the sense that the British education system is quite well respected around the world. So it's kind of a added benefit to study in that system at school, because the exams that we are trained for, they are kind of internationally recognized. So definitely that's helped me in my career in trying to find jobs, etc. Because of that, I think the UK normally ranks in the top 5 for education systems globally. So that's definitely an additional benefit of it. Other than that, I think one thing that I notice is that in Thailand, students have to take many exams, and their grade for their year will be across all of those different subjects, right? Whereas in England, you just specialize in what you enjoy or what you're good at. So people from UK will usually get very high grades because they specialize in what they enjoy and what they want to study. Whereas in Thailand, if you're very good at math and science, but not good at PE, foreign languages, etc., then your GPA drops quite a bit. So I'm quite lucky in that benefit, I think.
It does too. In Cambodia, it helped me a lot, and other students, while it mainly focus on the strong basic of education. In Cambodia, the government set out the policy of, strengthening the basic education for all the students. Ministry policy called education for all and all for educations, which means they ensure that all children get free education and bring schools to the student local community. And when we are required to take the exam and get a passing score as one of the eligibilities of moving to the next level, it makes us be always ready in order to move forward. It helps build the attitude of readiness. This really helped me and other students as well to be successful in our college life or career life. And another thing is that privatizing of schools and university does give student opportunity. Student would be more than happy to choose school, university, whose core curriculum and extracurricular have shaped them to their major of future career. Yeah, but if we talk about the core curriculum in Cambodia, focus on mainly on our local jobs. But for the private institution or private schools, they focus on the international levels. So they should be ready for the international level when they attend the school, they attend the class in the private schools or some of the state schools.
Interesting. So both of you are like working at school. So I would like to know, what are the interesting innovations introduced during COVID in your country for schooling? For example, online learning tools and platforms, extra. So Mr. Alex, since you're in Thailand, you can talk about Thailand or the UK, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, so in Thailand, we use, well, at least in my school anyway, I can't speak for all of them, we use a system called WebEx. It's not, I don't know really how innovative it is, but you can annotate, you can share screens, you can have breakout rooms. So if you're doing group projects or something, you can assign students to different groups. And as the teacher, you maintain full control of this online platform like you would a classroom. So if you're doing a project within students in a class, you can put them all into different rooms within this meeting, and the teacher can bounce around. So it's innovative in the sense that we can still maintain the teaching practices we would do in class to some degree. Although it's nowhere near as effective, we're still able to carry out activities like that. So I would say it's innovative in that sense, but for the most part, it's just being in front of a camera and talking.
Yeah. What about Cambodia?
I would say the last 2 years was such a practicum period for putting out the theory, integrating technology into education for Cambodia, Even, we use smartphone, but sometimes we don't know how smart it is. We are not ready, to be honest, in Cambodia. We have smartphone and we have other smart electronic device, but we won't exactly know how smart they are. And COVID-19 came, to our country in February 2020, and it was such, widespread after that, and all schools are ordered to close, and for the safety for children and students. During that time, online learning was firstly introduced, to ensure continuous learning for our students. So can we imagine that how hard it is when the student never know that online learning, but when it just put into practice and really, really hard. A lot of learning platforms were introduced and recommended for the effectiveness of learning and teaching. And I think, Google learning platforms is one of the most interesting innovation, since it is not really complicated for, us as the kindergarten for for the level of user, kindergarten level of user. We use Google Classroom to manage, class. We use Google Meet, to interact virtually with the students, and they use Telegram for the communication tool. So this is the new innovation. And if something happen again, and then we are not kindergarten level anymore, we are maybe been moved to the next level, primary or secondary level, for using to, protect ourselves from COVID-19 and to stay safety.
Yeah, the same goes for me. During my last year of my university, it became online, and then our school used a platform called Blackboard. Yeah, it was really great. Like the same with Alex too. They can break into groups, and yeah, it was really great. Like better than Zoom, I would say.
It's like trying to minimize the impact of actually being online.
So, can you tell me what kind of obstacles you have when you conduct online learning?
There's so many.
As
There's
I
so
said,
many, right? Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, go on. Mr.
As I said, it was completely, changing us since we are not ready. Firstly, school, because I'm the school administrator, we can say that. So when the online learning concept is coming, the school administrator, teachers, and students are not prepared for this, in terms of using device, understanding online platform, or preparing lesson for online, or managing classroom, or even teaching methodology for effective online class. We are not ready. So another one is the limit of the limit speed of the internet is another challenging for us. We can, finish as planned because of the internet. And being not able to control the student is another challenging. Sometimes they are online with us, but we are not sure they are learning or doing something else. I mean, the successful learner, the successful student needs to be, silent, independent learner, and with motivation, patience, discipline. But most of them, have not been equipped to be independent learner yet. And another one, in my country, having no smartphone, now have the smartphone that do not support the online learning platform is another thing we have to deal with. It is not expensive actually, but some family, they are still facing this problem because you know, they have more than 5 children, and one children, they have to buy one smartphone for them to learn. It's really challenging for me in Cambodia. Yeah, and again, you know, our student is not ready to, because, you know, successful online learning, as I said, they need to be a self-independent learner, more disciplined. So if they do not do like that, they cannot be successful. So this is the challenging in Cambodia.
Yeah, I think a lot of similar issues for me, coming purely from the perspective of a secondary teacher. One thing that I really found was that students who don't have self-motivation don't really learn, because they don't have a teacher there who is providing them with a good learning environment and is guiding them through the work. Most of the time they'll be sat at their iPad or whatever instrument they have, and their gaming computer is next to them. So they just turn the camera up like this, and then they switch across to whatever video game system they've got. You know, it's very difficult to work in an environment that you're used to playing in. You know, there's not that transition. So for the students who usually are very driven and self-motivated, for them, I've not really noticed much of a change. They still submit high quality work. They're attending all the lessons, but the students who normally need a bit more guidance, you know, they disappear. You don't see them or their work, you know. As well, for our school, there was also quite a few teachers who aren't really used to technology. So when they had to try learn these systems for online learning, it took a very long period of adjustment. We were quite lucky in the sense that it was our summer holidays when COVID hit. So we at least had a bit of forewarning that potentially we would be online. It wasn't like a direct transition. So we were given time to learn the systems before actually teaching on them. But a lot of older teachers particularly struggled with adapting to the technology. But I think now it's kind of become pretty normal way of life after two years of being this way.
Yes.
So Alex and Ling, and how you access a student online in Thailand, like the country you're teaching, and Ling in Burma?
We taught online from April 2020 until about September, October, where we were back in class for maybe 4 months. And then we went back to being online, then back to hybrid, then back to online. Like the transition is quite frustrating, actually, like, because you don't know when the end date is, obviously. So when they try to implement sort of a hybrid learning program, then COVID comes back again and the Ministry of Education says close the school.
Yeah.
But it's been back and forth for about 2 years, yeah.
And how you assess a student? Like, how do you check the student progress? Like a monthly exam or something like that, or midterm exam or final exam, in any way that you use?
Yeah, we normally throughout the term, we'll grade their mark, get their mark from graded work. So they'll have assignments from different subjects, and then every term they'll have two exams, a midterm and a finals. But doing online exams is so difficult, because what's to stop them cheating or like being on a line call with their friend, like, what'd you get for number 6?
Yeah.
We can't provide them with a strict examination environment. So I don't really know how universities and careers will look at students' grades from these 2 years, because it definitely is not the same or not as fair as previous students. But now my school is making students come in to do exams. So they have to come in for those 2 days, and they'll be provided with a proper, safe environment for them.
So yeah, in Myanmar, there is no online learning or anything. The COVID happened, all the schools were closed for a while, and when it calmed down, they allow students to go back to school, and it was for like 1 month or 3 weeks only. And they have to like go back and then stop learning, because many people in Myanmar are really poor, so they can't afford to buy any devices. So online learning wasn't possible for any of them. Yeah, only the rich kids. So, and then the coup happened. So I think students from Myanmar haven't been to school for 2 years now. They just stopped learning. Yeah, no learning at all, unless you have to go to like private institution or learn from online. Otherwise, you're just staying at home. Yeah.
That's crazy. So when students, let's say you're 17, right? You're now 19. Will 19-year-olds have to go back to school to do exams?
Yes, if they want to. Yeah.
That's horrible.
Stop right now. Yes.
Oh, that's very, very different.
Do you take hybrid learning at your school, Mr. Lun Peou?
Yes, of course we do. Hybrid learning is applied, to classes which have more than 20 or 25 students comparing to the class size. As the instruction by the Ministry of Education, they instructed that if we have more than 20 students, we have to split the class. So we have to divide into one group study online and another group study physically. So yeah, we do in our school.
How is it differ from other types of learning when it's hybrid?
Yeah, if we say if we talk about the difference, of course it is different because it is a mix of physical class and online class, half physical, half online, and the lesson should be prepared for those two, and the teaching methodology teachers should prepare for two groups too, not only one group.
How about Mr. Alex?
Yeah, very, very similar. I actually quite like hybrid learning because it means I have to be in a classroom. I don't have to be online still. But yeah, it's definitely more difficult to teach because you're interacting with the class whilst also having to worry about the students who are online. So when you're trying to give activities during lessons, I find you're quite restricted on what you can do because you'd like to do something with the students in class, but at the same time, you'd be neglecting the students online. So teachers have to be quite flexible in the activities that they conduct during hybrid learning. But I prefer it because it means I'm back in school. I don't have to stare at a computer screen all day. It's better for students too. I'm not sure how students' health have suffered, but staring at a screen, particularly like very young children, all day for 5 days a week, I mean, half of them are going to have glasses by the time they're 15, so that's good for the students' sake anyway.
Yeah, I was a hybrid student as well, and it was really hard. I can see that my lecturers were struggling. Some lecturers, right, they were in classrooms, so they just focus the majority student from the classroom, and then they just neglect us who are online. So it was a bit frustrating that time. So at your school, do you feel online or hybrid learning, which one is more effective? Or do you think you could have done more in any way?
I think hybrid learning is definitely more effective than just being solely online. It's a bit more of a struggle from a teacher's perspective, but at least when you have those students in class, you can monitor their work and you know that they are paying attention and interacting with you. For everyone to be online, you don't know really who's learning. Sure, you can concept check, you can judge it based on their work, but a lot of the time you don't know if they're copying or if they're getting additional help, whatever. So being in class, I find you can get a more accurate reflection of the students' abilities and understanding. So it's definitely a benefit to have it in this scenario, yeah.
For me, if I choose between online and hybrid online, so I would prefer online rather than hybrid. According to the experience in Cambodia, teacher need to do double work and they had to stay focused, like Alex mentioned earlier. So we are hard, to focus on like when we want to do something with the student in class, and we will forget the student online. And if we do something with the student online, we might forget the student, in class. And another thing is the student has to go along with the teachers in classroom, classmates. And it requires high tech. It requires high tech. I mean, high technology. I mean, they have to understand more about how to use, technology, and they have when they know how to use the technology, they can be more flexible enough in order to control both groups. But if they don't, it's very hard. And for me, I think we could do more than this. I prefer one more online learning platform, like we call e-learning, but we divide it into two. One is called self-paced e-learning. Another one is instructor-led e-learning. I mean, we can combine this together, and of course, I think it will work better than the other platform or other learning way of online.
In your school, did you apply hybrid learning to all age groups or just certain ones?
We apply hybrid learning, depends on the instruction of the Ministry of Education. But according to our observation, when we apply from grade 1 to grade 12, we apply all to all the grade, like from grade 1 to grade 12. So it's really not work well for our school. So that's why I say I would prefer, if online, we go to online. If offline, we go to offline, rather than just mix like this.
What I found for the secondary students is during the first few days, very few of them showed up. And then we used to have webcams in the classroom so they could see the teacher and students and everything. And once they saw their friends having fun, we found that every day more and more and more and more students would come in. So hybrid learning, I think, is quite good to transition back to regular learning. A lot of the time, parents are scared of COVID or whatever, but when they see that all the other parents are sending their kids and that increases over time, then it's actually quite a good way to get back into school, I feel. Just because the kids see their friends.
Yeah. Yes, like I said, that it requires a high advanced technology, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, I would like to ask, what kind of tips would you give to the students in order to study effectively online?
Throw away your video games. Don't. I would say the best is to have a section of your house where you learn and you don't do anything other than learning. Maybe it's a desk in your conservatory or somewhere other than the place that you play video games or you sleep or something like that. You need to have a good learning environment for yourself in order to study. And you can't associate that learning space with anything other than learning. Just having that learning space and a bit of self-motivation, focus on the goal that you want to achieve after school. And when you feel like not showing up to a lesson or not doing work, then think of that goal and study online with the teacher, because we miss you.
Yeah, for me, I think the effective online learning is not only come from student itself, but from the teachers as well and from the school administrator. So as a teacher, if he or she, how to apply or how to, use the technique online, they don't just know the content of the lesson. Sometimes the teacher just know the content of the lesson, but they don't know how to, transfer that or teach that knowledge, through using electronic device. So they have to combine them together. Like they have content, they have electronic device or technology, we say that, and they have to apply or they have to, use the teaching methodology or pedagogy and to make the learning and teaching effective. Like Alex said, that if we can, get the student engaged in our lesson, even online, so it would be very effective than just, showing them content, this and this and this and this. And students themselves, they have to be a motivated student. They have to be motivated student. They have to like Alex mentioned already, they have to prepare, the learning environments by themselves at home to feel like this is school, it's not just home. To feel like this is school, not just the coffee shop. Like, so they have to make like this to make them feel comfortable. And another one is that educating students to be more self-independent, to be more motivated, and to be more patient is good, because during the COVID-19 and during online class, what we choose not only the quality, but we choose safety first. So safety and quality at the same time we have to ensure.
Okay, so do you guys have any other question to ask each other?
No questions from me, no.
Yeah, no question for me too. Thank you very much, Alex, for sharing this good experience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lun.
Yes, so our time is up. I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Lun Peou and Mr. Alex for sharing your extensive knowledge on education system and for your precious time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me and giving me opportunity to share this.
Hope to see you soon.
Okay, hope to see you.